Hey guys, here we are back. Turn back the clock, number 7. I'm Adam, that's Dylan, and we have two guests with us, which is exciting. We got Matt and Ken from MySlabs. Hello, guys.
What's going on, gentlemen?
How are you guys?
Appreciate Ken. You're the CEO of MySlabs. Matt, one of the co-founders, or what's your official title with MySlabs?
COO, Chief
CO.
Operating Officer.
Okay. Yeah, we were just, I actually had Ken on my podcast back end of 2021, but we were just catching up, that was quite a while ago. So there's been a lot of updates with MySlabs. I'm a big MySlabs fan. I've been using it for about 2 years now. Dylan just started using it in the last year, and he's a big fan. So we want to talk about MySlabs and, some of the updates that they've been doing recently, some of the future potential updates. But as you know, we're big vintage collectors, so we want to talk about vintage as it pertains to MySlabs, some ideas, some get some feedback from Ken and Matt. But MySlabs is run by collectors, which I love. Ken and Matt are big collectors. We were just talking about some of the cards. We could probably go all night talking about these cards, but what we want to do first, guys, is show some pickups. I got a few pickups here. Dylan, I know, has some. We all got some. So, Dylan, do you want to go first?
Sure. Why not?
Do it.
First, yeah, thanks guys for joining us. It's going to be a fun conversation to have tonight. So, first off, I've got a card that this is only my second type of card. And Matt, you were showing something earlier that is, this doesn't compare, but regardless, it's in the same type of ball game. And for me, anyone who knows me, it's not likely to pick these cards up. But I've got my first Ernie Banks autograph, first and foremost, which is pretty special for me because I don't have an Ernie Banks autograph. And then it also has an authentic piece of game used jersey. And this is one of the older 2001 card. So it's just a really awesome piece for me to have in my collection. And this was $77. So it's just like no brainer. I went on vacation this last week with my wife, and she was in the store shopping. And so I went on eBay and purchased this bad boy. It was ending, and I was really stoked to have it. So that's one of my pickups. And then I'll show one more here. This is probably, I don't know how long I've had this, but it's in my to be scanned folder, so it means it's decently recent. And this is a 72 Topps Nolan Ryan. Just a perfectly centered, really beautiful card in a low grade. And I had this in a PSA 8 off-centered for years, and I sold it for pretty good money, around $275 or something. I've shared this once before. But I had it near me and I wanted to show it, and I just love this card. It's one of my favorite Angels card of all time. So that would be my two pickups for the night.
Yeah, guys, that's one of the themes Dylan and I have. We have a lot in common, but one of the themes we love going after vintage cards that have better eye appeal than the grade. And a lot of people do that, but that's one of the things I love about MySlabs is I've bought close to 50 vintage slabs off of MySlabs in the last year or two. And I find a lot of really great looking eye appeal vintage cards on MySlabs. And I don't know if I'm giving out a secret here, but I will share. Yeah, I really enjoy going through MySlabs. I'll go real quick here. I got a couple pickups here from MySlabs. This one's very recent. This is a card I've had my eye on for a long time. This is the 58 Topps, one of the earliest parallels. 58 Topps Hank Aaron in yellow.
Very nice.
In a PSA 5 here. But yeah, just recent pickup right off of MySlabs. Been looking for one this is really nicely centered, which is a big thing that Dylan and I go after is good centering on the vintage. So man, was really excited to get this one. Been looking a while for that. And awesome. Then I'm trying to make the Mickey Mantle run. So this was one I just kind of slept on for a while, but this is a pretty recent pickup too. 67 Topps Mantle.
Nice.
PSA 5. This was off MySlabs too, and just got great color to it. You
Always
know?
Both beautiful. Very nice.
Always
Yeah.
like that card. Just classic Nick, right? Like that smile.
Yeah.
Classic.
Classic, man.
Yep.
I know a lot of people don't like that 67 card. It's like, well, I love that card of his.
That's just
It's a
pure
great
American,
image.
man. That's like Apple Pie and Elvis and Mickey Mantle. And,
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, like and that smile, that image is it, right?
Yeah, man. The blue in the background, like, so I wanted one that had some really good color to it, especially on this card. And yeah, another gem I found on MySlabs. So, Ken, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like I told you, just, you know, in terms of like vintage baseball, like I had sold my collection, you know, a few years ago, unfortunately before the boom, and just needed capital to start a business, and I had sold a lot of my collection. And so when I came back in, you know, I've always had a soft spot for vintage era tops with like multiple Hall of Famers in the same image, right? Like, so not one of like the league leaders, you know, cards where there's like it's like a collage of photos, you know, the ones where both of the guys are in the same photo. So I'll bust out the MySlabs pickup first.
Yeah.
This is a 62 tops. The mantle. I'm sorry, I got to get it in the image here.
There we go. Manager's
There we go.
dream.
Yeah. So this one actually, it's really well. I mean, it's tough to see, but it's almost like perfectly centered. You know.
PSA 8. Wow.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking 8. And then in the same vein, this is a Hank Aaron 64 tops Mays Aaron. This is like counterintuitive, actually doing it this way. Like, you guys are actually pretty good at maneuvering cards, but like, I guess right is left and left is right.
So weird, yeah.
Yeah. It is.
So yeah, so this one's PSA 9.
Ooh,
I don't think there's any 10s of this card. So this is just a
wow.
beautiful card.
Love that.
I just love, you know, Aaron and Mays, man. Like, I just love that image. And then last, when you're talking about, obviously, you know, eye appeal, better than the grade. So this is 57 tops, mantle Aaron, and this one, it's actually, I don't know how it got a 7.5. I mean, but to be honest, when it comes to vintage, it's like you buy the card, so I don't even care. This is just a PC item, so if it's a 7.5, 8, 8.5, it doesn't really matter. It's just the colors are so vibrant, so well centered. This one actually, I think, got like a PWCC exceptional. But just, yeah. So anyway, just
Wow.
Ken,
Man.
you're a man after my own heart. I don't know if you could see this row up there. I have a row of all combo cards.
oh, I see the mantle. I see the mantle bearer, right? Like I have.
Yeah, and then the Hank and Mickey's up there too. I'm a huge combo card. Adam told me, and I was like last minute fumbling around, so I should have brought. I have like all of them. I love those things.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man. Like I actually have them out on display, like 15 of like my favorite. And it makes such a great display piece, right? Because you have like all these Hall of Famers, like all like just kind of hanging out in these like multi-image photos and multiplayer photos, and it makes for a good display. And to be honest, like the best part about it is that it's finite, right? Like, so if that's my focus, it's not like this endless black hole where you have to like just keep buying, like there is an end to it because there's only so many of them. And then obviously I think those are to some degree a little bit under the radar, compared to like the individual players, so, even like, that Mays Aaron card in a PSA 9, I think I paid like $2 or $3 grand for it tops, I mean, I think like $2 grand probably. The Mantle Mays, I paid like $3, but like, I mean, you can't, just like a regular Mantle card in those grades, like forget it. If you try to put together a collection of that, you got to take out a second mortgage, so.
I always thought they should be worth double. It's got Mantle and Mason on it. It should be worth double of, but it works the opposite way.
And the photos are awesome because they're all hanging out together. They're not like two cropped images. They're at all-star games.
Yep.
And they're just, it's like takes you back to that time that the photograph was actually taken. And it's so cool to see superstars hanging out together like that.
Totally. I'm gonna just piggyback on that real quick. Like,
yes,
on the I don't know if you can see it, but on the
oh yes,
that's actually, so this is 62 tops, right? So hold on, I gotta get it. Hold on, here we go. All right, so that's actually the green monster in the background. And so I looked, the 61 All-Star game was at Fenway. So that was taken in 62 tops, 61 All-Star game. And I think that's John Roseborough in the number 8, behind the two of them. But anyway, so yeah, it's cool. Like you said, the kind of, you look in the background, it kind of like, you try to piece together like what was going on, where was it taken? Was it at spring training? Was it at an All-Star game? And at the World, I mean, the mantle, Aaron, I think, was taken in the World Series, at the old.
Oh yeah, the World Series.
What's the Milwaukee Stadium? What was that stadium in Milwaukee? I forget the name of it.
I don't know what it was called.
Gotcha. But
yeah.
But
with
yeah,
the banners, it's so cool.
Yep. Tells a story, man. Takes you back.
All right, Matt. I kind of blew it. I didn't give you enough notice to bring, because I mean, Matt has one of like the best collections ever. I mean, just from some of the, I don't even know all the cards you have, but just some of the things I've seen, on YouTube and whatever. I mean, unbelievable collection. But you do have, I think, one card, right, to show us.
Yes. So I didn't bring anything truly vintage, and this is going to be sacrilegious to most die-hard old school vintage guys because they're going to think it came from a full game used jersey. But these cards kind of bridge the gap, serve a purpose for the newer collectors so that they kind of find out about the guys that paved the way. But this is the only game used Ted Williams laundry jersey in any checklist. And again, they weren't cutting these from full game used jerseys. This most likely came from an end of the season jersey that had been ripped or torn. But like, as you can see there, the old school laundry patch, the cut auto, this is from 05 Timeless Treasures, just a classic set. I'm from the Boston area, so this card, when I saw it, was a must-have. And at the time, the market wasn't what it is now. So I look back on what I got it for, and if I just filter now what Ted Williams 101s are going for, in particular rarer ones, it's insane. But like, I've shown a lot of guys at shows, like some of the larger vintage dealers, and they just they go off on a tear about how cutting up game used jerseys is basically the devil. They reference the Babe Ruth bat chunks put in cards. People need to understand those are most likely splintered bats. Like, you're not going to take a full museum piece game used Babe Ruth bat and start cutting it into chunks. Nobody, Panini isn't going to pay for that. Topps isn't going to pay for that. So everybody just kind of relax a little bit. These cards do serve a purpose. My nephew got into collecting when he was probably 6 years old because he thought cards like this with the old school players on them were super neat, and it just grew into something else. So I didn't have any vintage available, but this kind of bridges the gap, and it's a unique piece. So that's my show for today.
That's great. I love relic cards. I mean, I like vintage, but I'm a big relic card fan. And I know, Dylan, you've said this before, that even when they do cut up a jersey or whatever, instead of one person be able to own that collectible, now you can spread it out amongst a bunch of different collectors, and they get a piece of that, which I love. I think it's awesome.
They otherwise probably wouldn't have heard about these players, like these young kids coming up through. Mm-hmm. Without those relics, without those jerseys, without the cut signatures, these kids probably would not care about generations past, and making them chase cards, like, it serves a purpose. It does good for the hobby. A lot of people think that these things should just be kind of stored away, untouched. Nobody, kind of see them. Nobody's going to enjoy them if we store every piece of historical bat, jersey, cleat, whatever away. It's a great way to bring interest into the hobby and kind of teach the newer guys about the history of the game.
I agree.
I got to see something I've never seen before. That's awesome. I
Matt,
didn't even know that existed.
One question, Matt. Do you know where that signature? What is that? Is that because I see the image behind him on that autograph?
I did have it matched at one point in time, and I have the information written down somewhere. I'd have to dig it out. I can't remember. It was like some sort of Ted Williams pamphlet. He wasn't signing a million of them.
Because it looked like his legs.
Yeah, it is. That you can actually see like the swing of the bat from his trademark swing in like the upper corner too. So it was like a follow through on a swing. I believe it was like an old school Fenway event, but I can't recall right now.
It's awesome. Well, I'll trade you mine that I showed for yours. Straight up, no problem.
I have an Ernie Banks auto. He was one of my favorite players. When I was super young, I was infatuated with vintage from the time I was like 5 years old on. So I knew Mays, Banks, Musial, Aaron, Satchel Paige, all those guys. I wanted those cards from the time I was like 5 years old. So getting the autos coming up through the years was a must.
That's awesome.
Sounds a lot like me right there. I love it.
Well, guys, I want to talk about MySlabs, but first, particularly with like vintage on MySlabs, because Dylan and I have talked about this. I've been a big buyer, not really seller, but buyer. I don't like selling cards that much anyway, but I like buying. But I've bought a lot of cards off of MySlabs over the last couple of years, and I just love it. I love that I can, in a lot of cases, get good deals because sellers are willing to sell their cards for a little less on MySlabs in many cases because of the lower fees than like on eBay or other sites. So I feel like I can get good deals. I feel like there's a lot of high eye appeal vintage cards on there, but Dylan and I have mentioned this, at least in the circles that we tend to, follow on YouTube and other vintage collectors we connect with. I don't, and I think Dylan, you would agree that I don't see that a lot of them going on MySlabs as much as like we do, generally speaking. So I want to get your thoughts on that, guys. How do you feel about the sales you're seeing as far as vintage cards on MySlabs? I know there's a lot that sell, but would you like to see more of an audience for vintage? Or are there any new things coming out that would maybe help with that, or anywhere you want to go with that, basically?
Well, the vintage is kind of an industry secret. There isn't a lot of the older generation logging onto MySlabs for whatever reason. We have some of the best selection of high-end to low-end vintage you'll find. I mean, we have a guy that is constantly doing mid to high grade set breaks and will list, 1 through 700 in a day. And you'll just see people picking off what they need for their PSA set registry. That said, we have some of the larger vintage dealers in the country already on. We just sold a couple 52 mantles for like 50 to 55,000 a piece. So like the people that know are going there for the deals. We're hoping with a little more exposure, a little more marketing, we can kind of rein in that crowd as well. We do have someone coming on this week who's a very large vintage dealer who's going to be accessing the API to basically upload all of his vintage. So the selection should get that much better. Yeah. And obviously, we always have basically every error in mind with our updates. We'd like to sell more vintage. That's the safest play, really. Whether you're collecting or investing, vintage is the safest play, less volatile. So, whatever we can do to grow it, we will.
Yeah. And, one of the things that, after I came aboard in spring of 21, within the first, 3 to 6 months when we were just trying to, get some tech updates out and kind of give the site a facelift, like one of the things that Matt and I really wanted to add, which wasn't in there previously, was like the more advanced filtering. So you can like filter, originally, I don't know how long you guys have been on MySlabs, but originally like it was very difficult to, or you couldn't filter by era, so we broke, obviously, or year, you had to utilize the search field to be able to do that. But, if somebody goes in, for example, if you use the filters, you can, if you want pre-war or, vintage era, if that's your thing, and then you can filter, in attributes, we have like Hall of Famers and, as an attribute. So now, like, sometimes, like, if I go in, I want to look at vintage, I can filter for a specific, time period, but then also maybe throw in like Hall of Fame and rookie cards, right? Like, so I'll just get all rookie cards of all Hall of Famers from the vintage era, So, we really try to kind of give the potential buyers like a little bit more tools to kind of like filter, to not have, if it's a vintage guy and you don't want to look at a bunch of, 2020 Prism cards, to kind of sift through all that stuff to get to what you want. We just try to, give folks some more tools to be able to kind of dial in the results. And if you play with that stuff a little bit, you can really get a feed of just, what you're looking for if you're a vintage guy, so I would encourage people to do that.
I would say the pre-war guys, in particular the T206 guys, seem to be catching on because we've sold a lot more of that lately. I think part of that is just being so involved on a daily basis on Facebook. There's a couple tobacco era rooms, and we're friendly with a lot of the guys in there, and there's been some big T206 cards selling, and basically like a lot of stuff with unique back stamps lately. So I think at least those guys, those collectors, are figuring it out, which is good to see. I think that's an extremely undervalued era. I don't think it's ever going to get the recognition it deserves, but we'll get there. It's just a matter of getting the exposure.
So
Yeah.
I thought maybe I would add something. I wanted to tell you guys things that I love about MySlabs. I have a little list. I'm a top seller on eBay. I've been selling on eBay for like 21 years. So for me to switch over to use MySlabs was a big deal for me because I know how eBay works. I'm good at it. I've done it forever. And eBay for me, I use it to sell common cards. I sell tons of just low dollar stuff. But back when I first started, I was selling all graded stuff. But this year, I've been transitioning out of a bunch of my higher grades and replacing them with lower grade, high eye appeal cards. So I sold a whole bunch of stuff, and I found you guys. I'm not sure how, but I listed a whole bunch of stuff on MySlabs. And what I loved was how easy it was to list things. You take a picture, and you guys make it mandatory that the picture has to be a certain, like it had to be standing vertically. And it has to be good quality. And the way you fill out all the forms and everything, it was much easier than eBay. And I'd been doing eBay forever, but it was a very simple process, and I really loved that. I also went on there recently, before we got talking, you guys have a new comps link. So when you go on there and you can check the comps right from what you're looking at. So I was looking at a Yogi Berra 1957 PSA 4, perfectly centered last night. So I clicked the comps and I was like, wow, okay, that's where the comps are. Boom. And they're like $100. So I was like, wow, that's such an awesome feature. Because eBay, you have to, however you guys do your comps. I'm not like a big comps guy. I know what cards cost. It's kind of my expertise. I know what they're worth. But it's a really good feature for people who aren't familiar with comps. And it's always good to spend a lot of money to make sure what you're looking at. And then I love the lower fees. The 1% fees. So I probably sold like 10 cards on there. My only issue was obviously the eyeballs, right? I wasn't getting as many eyeballs on there. So I had them listed on eBay and on MySlabs. I still have 2 cards listed. I have a huge stack I'm still going to list, and I'm going to list them with you guys because eBay just sucks the life out of all the cards. You sell a $1,000 card and it costs me so much. So I love the mandatory photo quality. I love how easy it is. I love the comps link. I love the lower fees. I love the search results. I have no problem finding what I want to find on there. I was just typing Hank Aaron and whatever one I want, whatever I'm searching for, whatever it is, so easy. And I also don't think people realize that you have a collection feature, because I was listing things, and then if I would sell on eBay, I would there's a section that says not for sale, and you can click the not for sale button. So you can list your entire collection and have all your pictures and have your whole collection listed. And I think that's such a cool feature that maybe hasn't been talked about, and it's free. You don't have to pay for this service. So I could have my entire collection in my not for sale section, and have everything listed there and go on there and see all my pictures. And then if I ever want to sell one, I just click the button and list it. So I love that feature. Also, I really like the fact that there's no feedback. As far as I know, there's no feedback rating. I don't know for sure, but you guys, I'm sure, will answer this question. I'm not sure if I'm guessing you guys are 100% responsible for every transaction that's done on there, because you guys are, you're ensuring that since the photo quality is good, and I know you can kick sellers off. So I'm guessing you guys are, I just never had a worry. So I bought cards on MySlabs. Every transaction was perfect. I didn't have to go leave feedback. I didn't have to do anything. And when I sold cards, I just sold them. And they got to where they're going. I didn't have any issues across the board. So those are the things I really loved about MySlabs. I don't have any complaints whatsoever. I don't have any suggestions either. I think you guys are killing it. I literally think the only issue is eyeballs. And with your platform growing, it's sure enough going to cut into eBay at some point. So I just wanted you guys to know that.
We think we have a solution for the eyeballs too. I mean, we grow at a fairly rapid pace, but it's not the pace we'd like to. And our pace we'd like to is kind of unrealistic, but we are opening up affiliate programs on, with some of the larger influencers, some of the larger websites. So that by nature should bring a lot more eyeballs to the site for sellers. So we're kind of excited about that, because site traffic is really good, but it can always be better. We want it to be better. And we also plan on releasing an auction product in Q3. So the more eyes, the better.
Wow. That's big news.
As far as the feedback goes, we have newer members asking about the feedback thing sometimes.
Okay.
Realistically, we don't need it. We're a no BS website. The first sign of any trouble, whether it be, somebody not shipping, somebody giving somebody else a hard time, anything that looks like it might potentially lead to, scammy behavior, the individuals are gone immediately. We're not going to have the rest of our membership dealing with that. So aside from screening sellers and periodically screening the database for any, well-known bad actors, which we have a large database, we can kind of compare to, we remove any problematic individuals. And that can be somebody, that just has a piss poor attitude. We have people interacting in customer service that are treating, a buyer or a seller like dirt. They're not going to be on the platform. It's just as simple as that. So you're never going to be dealing with somebody that has 3 negatives or 2 no ships or whatever the case may be that you might find in somebody else's eBay history. They're gone immediately. People say, question whether that's the best business model because, you're kicking people off the platform. The answer is yes. We don't have people losing money. It's just as simple as that. So you have to be respectable. You have to be reliable. If not, we're not for you. And that's kind of a hard line to take. And we're going to lose members or potential members because of it. But none of our members are going to lose their money either. So it's a fair trade-off.
So you guys, you kind of answered the question that I kind of asked. You guys are responsible. If I bought a card, never showed up, I hit you guys up, you guys will cover the cost of that card because you're going to kick that seller off.
Well, typically you don't have to, right? We have our own team at PayPal, which is the primary source of payment method on site. We also have Stripe, which we released recently. But PayPal and our team at PayPal, they correct those issues immediately, right? So somebody doesn't have the item shipped in 3 or 4 days, they open up the refund request. There's never an issue with that. We can contact our team and expedite issues. They have, we're allowed to input. We've never had an issue with anybody not getting their product or cash. Stripe is a little easier for us because we act as the payment processor. We have the ability with the click of a button to hold, release, freeze funds, whether or not they've been recovered from the buyer or seller. So Stripe is a little better from an administrative standpoint. But because of the way PayPal's buyer and seller protection is set up, like there's never really any issues there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the fact that there's no feedback, and I don't have to worry about some angry buyer doing something, or like vice versa. And I had a great time every transaction I had.
I would say in the screening process for sellers, you can't just submit an application and, hope you're going to get approved. We require a little bit of information, and we also require either significant, backing from respectable members in the industry, or part of the application is your eBay feedback, right? Everybody's used eBay. So you have to have, at minimum, a 98.5% feedback, and positive feedback. And most of the time that won't get you in. So you're not dealing with any of these sellers that have, really any kind of history of issues. And they do check that stuff. And we make sure the eBay accounts that are being shown are, the applicants. So we have a pretty good system in place. Go ahead.
I remember signing up for it and being a seller. It took like 2 days for the process to complete. And I sent my eBay information, and you guys went through the process, and I was like, okay, cool, let's do it.
The downside there is, if you don't have, the history to get on the site, to sell, we probably are keeping some good people off of the platform, at least in a selling capacity out of the gate, but it's to ensure the protection of the rest of the members. It's nothing personal. We've had people that have worked to get their seller status for months. All they do is, continue to sell on eBay or get references from Facebook. And as soon as they're applied to be a seller, they absolutely love it and, say it was worth it. A couple people, basically tell us to go to hell, but
yeah,
can't win them all.
Yeah.
Well, that was honestly when, because I've actually, when I talk to people, like I do 3 and 3 episodes on my channel here where I, talk to other collectors, and a lot of them are vintage. And, a lot of times MySlabs comes up, and I have been surprised that some of these big collectors, like big buyers, like I'll pull up a card in Card Ladder that's sold on MySlabs, and they'll be like, oh, I've never used MySlabs. And I'm thinking, like, really? You're like, MySlabs is almost like, for me, it's like it was made for a lot of these vintage collectors, because it's none of the nonsense. They like low fees. They watch their money. They're very good with making smart buying decisions. They want good pictures. Like for me, MySlabs, like I said, is perfect for a lot of these vintage collectors. And I am surprised that some of them haven't started using it. I mean, for me, like even when I'm looking on eBay and I'm looking for a Mickey Mantle or whatever, Hank Aaron. Before I ever buy anything on eBay, I always look on MySlabs to see if I could find it there. If I find it there, then I'm going to try to buy it there. It's going to be, generally, I can get it for a lower cost. And then I found a lot of instances where there's cards on MySlabs that aren't on eBay. So it's not, you're going to find unique cards that I've only seen just on MySlabs too. So, this is not advertising or any of that. I wanted you guys to come on because I love MySlabs, and I want to, if I can, do my little part to highlight businesses in a marketplace like this that I feel like is doing it the right way, is a disruptor, and is going to help the hobby. The bigger it gets, it's only going to be better for the hobby. So I don't just buy vintage. I buy modern cards on MySlabs too. But that was like one of the main points I wanted to get across is like, yeah, the vintage I feel like should be a lot bigger as far as the buying of vintage. There's a lot of inventory on. I don't think you have a seller's problem. I think it'd just be nice I'd like to see more of these vintage buyers that are, using some of these auction houses. If you guys do auctions now, that was news to me. That was great to hear that you're going to be implementing some auctions. Do you want to give any more info on that, or is it too early?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to probably start it out as a peer-to-peer auction product. So, not necessarily event style to compete with, your PWCC, Heritage, Robert Edwards, and so on and so forth. Like, maybe ultimately, I'm sure it'll evolve into event style auctions as a complement to a peer-to-peer model, but we would like to launch it like eBay style, where individuals can, they can choose anywhere from, let's say, 1 to 10 days, to run an auction. Um, we do plan on having them all end right around the same time, in a given day, just so from a marketing perspective and to get that critical mass in terms of eyeballs. Like if everybody knows that, the MySlabs auctions are ending every night at 9 p.m. Eastern or 10 p.m. Eastern, whatever it ends up being. We do want to concentrate it in that way, but we do. Let's face it. Obviously, our user base. People are buying and selling at auction that are MySlabs users. They just, unfortunately, they can't do it on MySlabs at this point, because we don't have the capability. So, I think that in just kind of the research that we've done, the auction market, just in terms of volume of things that move, it's exponentially larger than the fixed price best offer model. So we're looking forward to that, and we're hoping to be able to just really pump that up and put marketing dollars behind it, and hopefully just bring a lot more eyeballs to the site for everyone, for all our existing sellers. So
Dylan, I know that's huge for you because you're a big auction guy. Yeah,
chomping at the bits. I love, Ken. I love your guys' idea to have them all end at the same time, because there's some sellers on eBay that I don't actually really like them, but I know they're gonna have a bunch of vintage cards, and I know when their auctions end every day or every Wednesday or this or that. So I make sure to go on eBay, which I call my card shop. Going to the card shop. I don't have a card shop where I live. I live on an island, so it's like I can plan it around, then I can spend an hour, and they're all ending at that time, so I have my best chance of hitting one of those. And when they're all just sporadic and ending randomly, it just doesn't make sense. And especially for MySlabs, since you have less people using it, I think that's genius. And my other thought was, I really don't like the auctions. It's your platform, I don't like the auctions that have these second bidding after the auction's over. I love the eBay style. You click it, you win it, it's over. You don't have these second chances. You don't have these other things that I don't even know how those really work.
Extended bidding.
I just don't even extended bidding. I'm just like, dude, if I win, I want the card. That's it. I don't want so I don't know. I don't know if you guys plan on doing that, but
not to steal your thunder there or put a wet blanket on it, but we're actually I know a lot of the auction houses actually do an extended bidding where if hypothetically if a bid gets placed on a certain lot, the whole auction extends, or you have to bid on the item ahead of time to be able to qualify to bid later. We don't think that's the best user experience from the buy side, so we definitely don't want to do that. But I do think just from a seller,
that's good. I don't want that.
From a seller's perspective, right? If you're selling, I think one of the I'll not to pick on anyone, but I'll use the comics hobby as an example. So in our actually original comic art, which is an offshoot of the comics hobby, which that I've bought and sold a lot of that over the years, and in that hobby, the general rule of thumb is that there's two big auction houses. There's Heritage, and then there's Comic Link, which are really the two players in that space. There are others, but those are the two big ones. And the rule of thumb is that you buy on Comic Link and then you sell on Heritage. And the reason for that is, in Comic Link, it's pure eBay style, where when that clock ends the first time, that's it. So everybody's throwing in that bid at the end. You can snipe the auctions. Whereas on Heritage has a live auction. So it's a live auctioneer, or they have an online version of that as well. But it's going to go to the highest bidder. So if there are two people that keep bidding on it, it's going to max out. And as a seller, just having experienced that as a seller. If you're a seller, listen, you want whoever's willing to pay the most for it, you want that person to win, right? Not necessarily maybe they would have gone higher, but they got sniped, type of thing. So, basically what we'd like to do is to have something where, if a bid is placed in the last minute of an individual lot. So we're going to do it on a per lot basis, not on the whole auction. And you don't have to bid earlier to qualify to do this. But so, if somebody places a bid within that last minute, maybe it extends it another minute or something like that. We haven't figured out the exact timing of it, but we're hoping that, it'll make the sellers happy, where they feel like at least they're getting like that true auction kind of like benefit. And again, obviously, like, we want to differentiate ourselves from eBay, and eBay is obviously not doing that. So yeah.
No, I would also say we do what our membership wants. And if it turns out that they overwhelmingly don't want this, no harm, no foul. We'd never create something out of our own best interests or what we think should happen. Typically, we bounce ideas off of our membership. I don't know if you guys know, we have a welcome forum on Facebook that kind of got the website going. Has 10,000 members that are active, and we run ideas by on a daily basis and figure out kind of the pulse of the hobby and what people want. So we're pretty open. We want to provide people with the product they want and what's going to work best. So whatever we have to do to make that happen. I personally like extended bidding only because some of the other platforms I've used in the past, I've really wanted cards, and it gives me that extra opportunity. I can see where it pisses people off, to have it extend. But we're pretty flexible. We're trying to give everybody the product they want, not necessarily what we want.
Dylan just got burned on a bunch of those, so he's a little biased, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to me, it's I understand if you get burnt on them, but to me, as a seller, I've used PWCC, and obviously that worked out well for me. I've had cards go from, it was 8,000 to 28,000 in extended bidding. So as a seller, you're like, all right, I really like this. As a buyer, it gave me extra chances. I did miss out on 2 of the items, which I wasn't pleased with. And then I looked at it after, like I just drove up, the market value unnecessarily on it. But, we're going to take a look at what everybody wants. So however that works out. I'd also like to kind of circle back to something Adam said briefly about, there are plenty of sellers on the platform and kind of the buyers are the issue right now. Just an inside look to what we have every day. So I can see all bids at all times. It's a neat little function we have on site. Actually, Ken created that for me because I'm constantly tinkering with data. What I've seen in the past probably 4 months, all right, the market's picked back up a little, right? The buying and selling is a little healthier. But I now play with the offers all day long, live offers, go in and look at who's seeing what. What I'm seeing is there is no lack of buyers. And originally, like, I'll filter high to low. I want to take a look at the highest offers out down to the lowest. I click on the highest offers thinking it's going to be some buyer absolutely lowballing a seller. Typically the 10 to 20 top, bids or offers out are all within market or really healthy. Some are actually over market when you click on them. Right now, the issue in the industry is the sellers, I think, being fairly unrealistic. Either they're expecting COVID money, expect to like turn that corner and all of a sudden everybody's going to be rich, like 2021 rich again, or they're hanging on to inventory from the COVID spike that they bought and just don't want to come to terms with taking some sort of a loss on it. Like, the offers are very healthy, very realistic, and it drives me nuts because, stuff that should be selling isn't. And I understand, like, sellers' rationale, but it's not for a lack of buyers right now. It's the sellers need to come to terms with it. They may have to take a loss on this and realize that the market is still low right now. Sell item X, take a little loss, reinvest in something else that is also real low right now, right? Recoup that money a different way. So we just need the sellers to budge a little bit, and the market's going to bust back open again. We have plenty of buyers right now. The obstacle's the sellers.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you guys did last week? You guys did a site facelift, a redesign. Looks even better. Looks fantastic. man, I love the site. I love MySlabs. You guys are on the East Coast, so we were only supposed to keep you a half hour at 45 minutes now. So I'm going to let you go here, but any other last words? Hopefully we could do this again, because I got a million things I'd want to ask you guys, but just wanted to have you on at least once here. And yeah, any last thoughts here before we take off?
Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to circle back on something that Dylan had said, that obviously managing listings like between eBay and MySlabs, and how some of the vintage folks guys just kind of set in their ways, and they're used to listing on eBay, and sometimes people don't want to double list and all of that. But we do have a partnership or collaboration, I should say, with a company called Slabfolio. And basically what Slabfolio does is that it leverages eBay's API and obviously the MySlabs API. And what it enables you as a user to do is to upload your inventory in one place. And then with the push of a button, you can list on eBay and MySlabs simultaneously. And obviously that platform, it also enables you to cross-manage those listings. So like if something sells on MySlabs or vice versa, if something sells on eBay, the listing will come down in the other place like automatically. So like if you have a large amount of inventory, like you don't have to worry about double sales, and obviously you only have to upload things once, so it's very convenient. So that's not a shameless plug, we're not, but it actually is a very useful tool for folks that maybe some vintage folks that are just used to listing on eBay. You can actually do it kill two birds with one stone, as they say, with Slabfolio. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, King, because I signed up for that originally, and then this whatever happened, I ended up not doing it that way, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because I should have said that as well. So it's a really cool feature.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean it just simplifies it. I mean maybe Matt and I were just chatting earlier today, like maybe someday, we'd like to maybe build that feature into MySlabs where you can just suck out all your eBay listings if you're a brand new user, and you can just import everything in one shot. But obviously it's the roadmap is a mile long, so we'll get to it eventually. But definitely something that we'd like to do.
Can I say one more thing? Since I don't use Facebook, so I won't be on that group, be able to push this auction thing. I'm a guy who buys a lot of $25, $50, $100 cards. There's no reason for extended bidding for lower priced cards. So maybe there's a way you could do extended bidding for expensive cards and cheap cards. That's it. That's all I got to say.
That's actually a good idea. That makes sense. Look, we don't want to annoy people. That's the bottom line. We want the experience to be good for everyone. You can't please everyone, but we certainly try. So that obviously, that product isn't coming out until hopefully Q3. We have a lot of work and thought to put in past the initial design, and there's going to be ideas kicked back and forth, but that makes sense. Like you don't want to annoy people buying $25 cards and have them stay up, well past midnight, because somebody upped the bid 10 cents. That might not make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the beauty of this, right? Like we can always, we can make adjustments, right? Like if we've definitely, we've done things and, made product updates that 6 months, a year later, sometimes sooner, we just felt like, it's just not really catching on, or it's just not, maybe not as useful as we imagined that it would be. And we remove it or change it, so like that's, we're always open to feedback. And to Matt's point, we just want to, give people what they want, like that's the truth, like just give the hobby what it wants and what it needs, as opposed to, trying to impose what we think everyone wants.
Awesome. So guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on here. Hopefully we could do it again. And guys watching, hey, I recommend going to MySlabs and checking it out if you haven't, as a buyer or a seller or both. But if not, that's okay. More great cards for me. So hey, either way. But Yeah, guys, thanks, and we appreciate it. That's
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right.